What's up, guys? Welcome back for today's lecture, which is Tuesday, the 31st of March. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Um, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started for the lecture today. I'll try and be relatively quick. We're going to break this down piece by piece. So we are going to jump right in. Picking up on yesterday, we've got, yesterday we talked about uh, the leaders of the Axis powers during World War II. Now we're going to get into just the beginning of it, how World War II really begins. We got into some causes and some reasons why we have a second world war directly after the first one. So the start of World War II is going to really be pinned on 1939. So Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, which Soviet Union is former Russia, they sign a non-aggression pact. A non-aggression pact is basically an agreement to just don't bother each other. Stay out of my way, I'll stay out of yours, that kind of thing. So where that comes into play is both the Soviet Union and Germany have a common interest, and that is Poland. They're the occupation of Poland. Because Poland has a mixture of people in it. Polish people are a melting pot of both Russian and German ancestry and some other Slavic types, but they also have a very high amount of Jewish people, which that does play a role, but it is not the only reason why you might think Nazi Germany wants to take over Poland. Now, to back up a little bit, yesterday I feel like I didn't do a great job of explaining fascism in comparison to communism. So, and there may be some confusion. When I call fascism the opposite of communism, I can understand that might be a little confusing because a couple chapters ago I referenced capitalism being the opposite of communism. And they're both true. And I understand that can be kind of confusing. But here's the thing. Communism is both an economic theory as well as a government policy or a way to rule the people. Now, we know capitalism is an economic theory. So in economics, and when I speak of economics, I mean things like businesses and money and labor and government's role in those things. When I talk about economics, yes, capitalism is the opposite of communism. But in terms of government rule and treatment of society, the opposite of communism is fascism. Whereas, fascism, I said, the people are treated unequally. There's a hierarchy, there's an elite group, and then there's what the Germans themselves considered subhuman like below base level human. So, and communism is the equality, whether it's economically or socially, the equality of people. You know, everybody's equally poor and everyone's equally treated terrible. So I just wanted to clear that up because I understand that could be confusing. And in that sense, it's kind of strange the fact that Germany and Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact because they are so different. The leader of the Soviet Union, his name is Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin is someone we're going to talk a lot about because he plays a massive role in history. Joseph Stalin is hardcore communist to the bone. He's one of the three-headed monster that starts communism in Russia after World War I. And he's now the lone ruler. Why is he the lone ruler of the original three? Well, because he had the other two killed off. Well, one of them dies naturally. The other one, Stalin kills. Anyways, Stalin hates capitalism. He hates fascism, despises it, thinks it's ridiculous. And Hitler hates communism, thinks it's ridiculous. But they come to this agreement. We're not going to bother you if you don't bother us, because despite the fact they would probably never admit it, Stalin's intimidated by Hitler and Hitler's intimidated by Stalin. They both understand that the other is dangerous. So they decide, hey, we're about to cause some trouble, and we want to make sure you guys don't get involved. And so that's the point of the pact. The name of the pact was the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Those were the names of the two guys that delegated the writing of it. So in it, they agree to kind of aid each other and also not to align with the other's enemies. And that's a big point. You know, we don't have to be allies, but do not align yourself with one of our enemies. So keep that in mind. So here on September 1st, 1939, a week after this thing's passed, or a week after Germany sends it off to get signed, it was the Russians signed it, and then one day later, the Germans go, all right, full steam ahead. And they head east into Poland. And they stop about right at the halfway point, like right down the middle of Poland. And they do atrocious things in Poland. They massacre the people, burn cities, imprison citizens. They bomb. The Luftwaffe, which was the German Air Force, they just go overhead and bomb all these cities, these Polish cities. Poland wasn't even at war with them. Like, Poland knew Germany was up to something and they're scared of them, and then Germany moves in and they're just toast. They show no mercy on them. Horrific things are done. And this isn't even just to the Jewish people. This is just to Poles in general. We haven't even gotten to the desecration of the Jewish people yet. So Poland thinks, oh boy, I hope someone comes and helps us. Maybe someone from the east will come and give us some defense, because the Polish military was not very strong. Nope. Oops. No, Poland gets invaded from the east now as the Soviet Union moves in. Soviets also take some of the other Baltic countries, which was Southeast Europe. And Poland's just, they're done for. There's no hope. Their military puts up as much of a fight as they can, but I mean, fighting one of these two countries is extremely difficult. Fighting both of them is impossible, especially when you're the size of Poland. So the Soviet Union invades, and they commit, they also commit atrocities. It is just a terrible time to be in Poland. The Russians were not the kindest of people, and they don't have as much, I guess, pent-up hatred for Poland as a lot of Germans do, but just kind of in Russian nature, they don't really care for anybody. So they move in, they take what they claim is theirs, and well, first of all, I forgot to mention this, but when Germany invades Poland, which Poland is an ally of France and Great Britain, they invade Poland, and France and Great Britain go, "Oh crap, we better start mobilizing. We better declare war on Germany." Okay, fine. France and Great Britain, pretty powerful, but their big help in World War One was Russia. So they go with they cross their fingers and they say, "Hey, how about you guys want to help fend off Germany?" And this is the Soviets' response: is invading Poland to take half of it themselves. So when the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is signed and it's posted in the media, people saw that there was not they agreed to not be aggressive. They agreed to all this, but it wasn't posted their plans to take Poland. It wasn't posted that their plan to not align with the other one's enemies. So the fact that France and Great Britain are not Germany's enemies, Soviet Union says, well, no, we're going to follow the pact and we're going to not get involved. So this is very dangerous for the Allies. France and Great Britain are definitely worried. This is about to get nasty pretty quickly. So they split Poland almost right in half. The eastern part of Poland, obviously based on geography, has more Russian influence, has more Slavic people. Western Poland has plenty of Slavic people also, but the Germans found value in a couple Polish cities like Warsaw, which you see the Polish spelling of these cities on this map. And man, the Polish language is very Slavic. There is a lot of consonants in the Polish language. So Warsaw, which we spell exactly how it sounds in English, W-A-R-S-A-W, they spell with a couple extra consonants and an extra vowel in there. But Warsaw is the capital of Poland, the industrial capital. It was seen as the most important of the Polish cities. But then another very important city in Poland was the city of Gdansk, up there top left. It shared a border as well as a coastline, and that was seen as the one port in Poland that was worth having. So they saw the Germans saw industrial benefit from taking over Poland. And that's a line of demarcation, basically an agreed unofficial border between Germany and the Soviet Union. And it's really kind of strange looking and arbitrary, but that's how the line was drawn for the two countries. Now, part of the Nazi-Soviet agreement was the trading of goods, especially goods that Germany was previously having received from the Allies. Although the Allies cut off power or cut off trade once Germany starts acting up. And so Germany had a need for things like lumber and oil and coal. Well, the Soviet Union happens to have just about everything in high quantities. So Soviets start trading these goods to Germany, and Germany's to pay them back. Well, everything goes well for about a year and a half, but some paranoia starts to sit in between the two sides. Germany is going to be extremely paranoid for the entirety of the war. They start to think that the Soviets are spreading all this anti-Nazi propaganda. If you remember what propaganda is from World War I, they start spreading all this negative stuff, or they believe that the Soviets are spreading all this negative stuff around Eastern Europe. Negative anti-fascism, anti-capitalism, just basic anti-German propaganda. The Soviets also believe that the Germans are spreading anti-Soviet propaganda, anti-communism, anti-Stalin, all these things. And it was true a little bit, but it was nowhere near the extent that either of them thought. Like, they were being pretty tame with propaganda against each other, all things considered. So then Germany just becomes so wrapped up in all this stuff that they stop really caring about the pact. They start to fall behind on some of the payments for those goods that they were receiving from the Soviet Union, and then eventually just stop paying them altogether. And the Soviets get pretty nervous. I think this is a little sketchy. We better try and reel this in, try and save the pact. So the Soviets agree to sign basically a ceasefire with Japan, which Japan and the Soviets had been, or Japan and Russia had been at war for on and off for about 30 years at this point. And Japan was an ally of Germany. So the Soviets decided, hey, it'll cheer up Hitler if we prove our allegiance to them by agreeing to a treaty with Japan. So they do that, another non-aggression pact, which that'll come in handy at the end, or that'll come into play at the end of World War II. Thinking, okay, Germany should be happy now. Nope. As we will find out with Adolf Hitler, which hopefully you have an idea. Adolf Hitler was a little crazy. No, Adolf Hitler was absolutely nuts in every aspect. I mean, he was just crazy in every way. His treatment of people and his views on certain religions, but he, within 6 months of signing that pact with Russia, or with the Soviet Union, within 6 months, the Germans were already plotting an attack, an invasion of the Soviet Union. Man, that is crazy. People don't, how many times do we have to go over in my class, in history in general, why it's a bad idea to invade the Soviet Union, to invade Russia? Don't do it. It's bad. It doesn't work. Napoleon was the poster boy for why not to invade Russia, and now Hitler is going to only reinforce those reasons. The Germans launched what was known as Operation Barbarossa, which was a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union, of Western Soviet Union. And I'll get into it a little more later, but it's going to fail. And Joseph Stalin is furious. And he, of all my studying of history and things that I've learned, Joseph Stalin's probably the last person on the face of the earth in human history that I would want to anger, because he has serious anger issues. He is not the person to be messed with, and he will show Germany why by the end of this chapter. But that is the German plan. They invade the Soviet Union. And gosh, it's not going to work. It's not going to end well. I can assure you that. So our essential question for today is going to be, what caused the Nazi-Soviet relations to collapse after this non-aggression pact? Talked about a lot on the last slide. They both seemed, it started off, it seemed positive, seemed like it was going to work, and then what made it fall apart? There's many reasons. Don't just have one reason. There's a handful of them. So include that. So you'll go back to Google Classroom, and you will open that document that you had open yesterday, that you answered yesterday's essential question on. Open that same document and just go down another line or two. Type out this question, type out your answer. And we're just going to keep adding to that document for this week. And that'll have all your questions and answers. Include this question and answer in your notes as well. That would be very beneficial to you. So that's going to be it for today. Just past 20 minutes on this one. So that works well. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And let me know if you have any questions or concerns. So thank you guys, and we'll see you on Wednesday.